Nature was my first teacher. I learned so much just by opening my eyes, by listening, by taking myself away from distractions, and by just being curious. It does ask you to slow down, though, to be present, and to tune into your senses. What do I see? What do I hear? What do I smell? What does it feel like? And how does it taste? A naturalist is an expert or a student of nature, someone who is always curious about their natural world and how it works. And you don't need much to begin, just your senses, your naturalist journal, and your curiosity, and we'll provide the rest. This is Fairyland, Flora, and Fauna. Think for a moment about where you live, the place that you call home. And maybe you're in it right now. Picture it. Take out your naturalist journal and a blank piece of paper. And what I want you to do is I want you to draw this place where you call home. You could think about it, how it looks on the inside, on the outside, or you could even think as if the roof is taken off and you're looking at it from the sky. We call this a bird's eye view. Take some time to think about these areas in this place you call home. Go on, doodle, doodle, doodle. Now, from our last episode, we discovered that all living things are called what? Organisms, that's right. And all organisms need certain things to stay alive. Now, looking at your drawing of this place you call home, take a few minutes to think about the things in your home that meet your needs. Think of yourself like a naturalist, observing yourself. What are your needs? And if you need to pause here, go right ahead. All done? Great! What you just drew, my friends, is your habitat, the place where you, as an organism, are surviving and thriving. Animals and plants also find their little place in the world. Plants have a little less say about where their habitats are and are often in need of other organisms to get their seeds to new habitats. A hummingbird, a bee, a butterfly, they're waiting for these guys to come and pollinate them and then to drop their seeds. Whereas animals and humans have a little more say about what's going on. But each animal and plant, each organism has a different need, which is why certain animals and plants only exist in certain habitats. You wouldn't find a polar bear walking around in Oakland, would you? What are some things an organism might need to think about when choosing a habitat? The first need an organism might think about is some kind of shelter, or covering, or safe place, where it feels protected from weather or any other organism that might try to harm it. This is the home itself, and it looks very different depending on the organism. It might look like a nest, a hive, a burrow, a cave, or some underwater hideaway. This is a place where it can store food, have babies, and feel safe in its environment. The second need an organism might think about is its food and water source. Where is there clean water I can drink? Is there enough food where I live? And if we're thinking about the survival of plants, do I have enough sun to live? Does the soil have enough nutrients for me to survive? How much rain will fall? And the last big thing to consider is space. Am I competing for the same food and water source as other organisms? Am I far enough from predators who might try to eat me? Well, my friends, much like humans, an animal's habitat might change over time. If their needs aren't met, they will skedaddle to the next place that does. That big old redwood tree is a habitat for a lot of animals around here. I see the squirrels up there all the time. If we look up here, in a lot of trees, you'll see this fallen debris. This is a hummingbird nest, and she's roosting right now. We really keep our distance and just use our eyes. Ooh, and a robin? You'll find all sorts of organisms that have decided to set up their little habitats here. Also, having a clean water source is really important. Looks like Puddles, Dab, Dab, and Lucky got their pond all cleaned. Hi.
Say hi,
Can we come in? Is that okay?
Chiquita, you gonna let us?
So their enclosure is part of their habitat, but what happens at nighttime?
Waiting for
Their food source. Our domestic friends are really lucky because they get a lot of their needs met for them, like food and water and like their shelter. They don't really need to worry about those things. Huh, friends? Well, everyone, for today's project and journal entry, we are going to plan and build a habitat diorama. Right next to this video on the magic tree, you will find a planning page called the Habitat Plan. Using this worksheet, you are going to pick an animal and figure out what their habitat might look like based on their needs. Imagine yourself in that animal's place. What do they eat? What do they hunt? Or what hunts them? What kind of shelter would they use? Do they live in the water? Underground? In a tree? Do they come out during nighttime? Or do they come out during the day? Once you have your habitat plan complete, you are all ready to get started. All of you will need one shoebox, paint, glue, and any sort of nature foragings you might find. So I was really inspired by the hummingbird nest that we found today. And so I think I'm gonna try and recreate that nest. And what I know about hummingbird nests, they use a lot of fibers like from sunflower fluff, and I'm gonna use some of this palm fluff here. They also utilize lichen and mud, so I'm just going to take a teeny bit. Thank you so much, I appreciate you, tree. I also noticed some feather drop over here, maybe a little bit of mud, so I'm gonna get in here. Naturalists, we're not afraid to get our hands dirty. And I noticed it seemed like it had mud in it, and I noticed that it had lichen around the outside, and lichen is that green stuff that's not like moss. It kind of looks like paper mache. This is a project for you to make as detailed or as simple as you like. Keep in mind that each and every one of you is going to be building something a little different based on the animal you choose. Be creative and don't feel like you have to copy mine. You've done a lot of really good thinking already. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is for you to explore an animal's habitat. I have my base, I have my sky and my grass, setting up the 3D space of my diorama. And now I'm thinking about what I saw today with that hummingbird and how it was perfectly nestled just in sort of that crook of that tree. So I went around and I collected some branches that I thought could mimic that. Once you're sure on a spot, you can start gluing. I even like, if you're setting up a tree, I even like poking holes so that they sit really nicely in there so that they're not going to budge. I'm just gonna start making a little bit of mud here. Putting myself in the position of the hummingbird. And they would usually do this with either mud or they might use saliva. Of course, hers is gonna be a lot more secure than mine is. She would be using that mud and lichen mixture to really keep it in there. And for your dioramas, you are more than welcome to secure them more in place. Me, on the other hand, I'm gonna return all of these natural fibers and sticks back to their habitats. Being aware of others' habitats is really important as a human. We often forget that a tree or underneath a rock or beneath our feet is a whole home to other beings, and it's our responsibility to be excellent guests when we are visiting another species' home. Do your part in nature to leave things exactly the way you found them, if not better. Well, naturalists, that's it for this episode. I'm so proud of you for making it this far. On our next episode of Flora and Fauna, we are going to learn a little bit more about plant parts and get our hands dirty. Until then, have fun and be curious. If you followed along today, I hope you'll share your dioramas and naturalist journal with me. Tag us on Instagram at FairylandCA using the hashtag FairylandFloraandFauna or hashtag KidNaturalist. I'll see you next month.